Hello and welcome to Competitive Crunch. My name is Spade and today we'll be looking at Smogon's Showdown Simulator statistics of January 2014. And this marks, as it says here, the first full month of the post-Pokemon Bank OU metagame as the only OU metagame, as there's no more pre-Pokemon Bank meta. And also the first full month of the UU beta metagame, which I'm not going to be looking into today, because otherwise this would be way too long of a video. So perhaps I will save that for next episode. Maybe, maybe no. We shall see. But anyways, this episode is all about the OU metagame. So without further ado, let's look into it. And guess which Pokemon is the #1 most used this month. Or not this month, but on January, which is the month we're talking about. Rambling. Guessing time, now go. And it is Rotom Wash. And I actually made myself a list of all the changes with these convenient pluses and minuses, so we can conveniently see, like last month, I thought I would continue this trend, because we can see which Pokemon were moving up, which Pokemon were moving down, so I will try to focus on the major changes this month, instead of just talking about all the Pokemon, because, yeah, already done that in the past. So, anyways, yeah, Rotom Wash still keeps its spot as #1 in the Pokemon Bank, or the post-Pokemon Bank metagame, which is currently, as I said, the only metagame, OU metagame at the moment. And still, overall, Rotom Wash is just a great Pokemon, works offensively, defensively, has amazing typing, is good momentum for any team. It's a good Pokemon that you can easily put really on any team, and it just works. Has good synergy with everything. So that's why it's #1. We all know how good it was last month, or last generation, not last month. I don't know what I'm saying, but in the previous generation, and it still is. And now the thing is, Rotom Wash doesn't even need to worry about its common, I guess you could call them counters, because. Yeah, okay. Just saying that it doesn't need to worry about Gastrodon and Celebi. And I'm kind of hesitating to call them counters, because on some cases Rotom Wash could run Signal Beam, it could run Hidden Power Grass, but usually it doesn't, and usually those Pokemon were really good at dealing with Rotom Wash, but now they're nowhere to be seen in the OU tier, at least not that much. Obviously Gastrodon was used to deal with rain a lot of the time, and since there's no Permarain, there's no Gastro. And kind of the same thing with Celebi too. Although Celebi has a bunch of different options, so it could be rising in the future. But at the moment, this is a great time to be a Rotom Wash, especially since Talonflame is lurking right behind the corner. And Rotom Wash is another good way to deal with Talonflame, resisting its dual stabs. Not sure if I want to call it a counter, because Choice Banded Brave Bird hurts really any kind of Rotom, and Choice Banded U-turn too. But, you know, it's one of the best things to deal with Talonflame still. So, there's that. Aegislash climbing at #2 this month, which is not really surprising. There's a little bit of fluctuation, but no real major changes in the top 5 at least so far. Genesect at number 4, another really good Pokemon that you can easily slap on any team at the moment, as I've talked I believe in the previous episode. You know, it is being suspect tested, so it might just end up going. But I guess the reason why it's not #1 is because there's just so many other big threats and Mega Evolutions and power creeps and other stuff, and so for a lot of people, the focus is on those other Pokemon, and that's why Genesect is not #1, even though like it could be, like it was in Generation 5 for a lot of time before it got banned. But it's still a great Pokemon. But anyways, not going to talk about Genesect because I talked about it last time, and I'm certainly going to talk about it in the future too, once the suspect testing results come in. #5 we got Greninja, rising up a few spots. I guess nothing major. Protean ability is great, stab everything. Then at #6, something major, got Charizard rising up 11 spots. And it just still keeps on going up. And Charizard is just great this generation with the 2 different kind of Mega Evolutions. You got the X one, which has the awesome long-awaited Dragon Fire typing, and it's more physically orientated. And then you got the awesome coverage of Dragon and Fire. Then you round that off with something like Earthquake or even Break, and you're golden. You're good to go. And then you have setup move like Dragon Dance, and it's just amazing. And then you, on the special side, you go on Mega Charizard Y, which indeed works out completely differently. Still keeps the original typing Fire Flying, but has the Drought ability. And it's more specially orientated, like I said, and it just hits like a truck right off the bat. If it's not Heat Ran, it's gonna fry you with its Fire Blast. And at least at the moment, like I was talking last month, the Mega Charizard Y is the one gaining more momentum at the moment. Both of the Mega Evolutions are amazing for Charizard, but the Y is the one that is gaining more momentum at this time, because I was checking on the usage of Charizard, and I believe it was 58% that were using the Mega Stone Y, and then 39% which were using Mega Stone X, and then the 2-point-something% were using something else because random casual players or something, I don't know. But Charizard Y is at the moment leading the way on the usage when it comes to the Mega Evolutions, but both of them just work out different roles and are just great. That's why Charizard is gaining so much usage, because it has two different really good Megas, so not really surprising to see it at number 6. Then at number 7 we got Mega Lucario that was rising up a lot last month, because Mega Kangaskhan got banned. So last month a lot of people were experimenting and trying to figure out what Pokemon could fill the power of vacuum, the vacuum of power that Mega Kangaskhan left on the metagame, and a lot of people thought that Lucario is the answer, so that's why Lucario and its Mega Evolution were gaining a lot of usage last month. Now it's slightly dropping down, but not too much, only by 4 spots, but that's why Lucario is on the rise still, you know, even though it lost 4 spots, but it was still at spot number 7, which is really good for it. But Lucario, another Pokemon that is being suspect tested, so we shall see what's gonna happen to it. But anyways, then we got not too many big changes that I really care to talk about. Let's just move on. Then we got Conkeldurr rising up 8 spots, and Conkeldurr, like I've talked about in the past, it has some options that it didn't have in the past. You know, mainly the Assault Vest. That is really gaining some popularity at the moment. A lot of people are trying out the Assault Vest Conkeldurr, which is really cool, because, you know, you got because the problem with the Assault Vest users, obviously, is that they won't be able to have any kind of recovery moves, or at least most of them, because, you know, you cannot use any kind of non-attacking moves, so that's a problem right there. But with Conkeldurr, you have access to Drain Punch, so you can still get that recovery off, and also you got Knock Off, which is amazing for Conkeldurr. You can just put it over Payback. A lot of Pokemon have access to Knock Off, but the problem is that they need to sack a move slot for it. For Conkeldurr, however, it's easy to put it over Payback. It still brings you the same coverage as you usually have with Payback, but you have the utility of knocking off items. So nothing can really safely switch into Conkeldurr, because you have to risk the chance of losing an item, which could really screw you over late game. And of course you still have the option for the awesome bulk up set, as you did in the past, so there's that. But I think those are the reasons why Conkeldurr is gaining a lot of momentum at this time. Excadrill dropping down 6 spots. I don't think it's anything major. Excadrill obviously not that great in this generation with the weather nerf, but it's still one of the best offensive rabbit spinners, and especially since there aren't too many good defog users, rabbit spinning is still a valuable way of getting rid of hazards, and especially with something like Excadrill that is really difficult to even spin block with its powerful moves like Earthquake and Rock Slide, and then you have, like, I guess you could run Salt Dance on it. That's what most people do. But Mold Breaker set, I think, is the most common one to deal with Rotoms at this time. But Excadrill is still a great spinner, but, you know, obviously not as good as it was in the past. So, you know, now people were first really excited to use Excadrill in OU again, because last generation it got banned, but now that it's in the OU, and it's really not that good. It's a great Pokemon, but obviously not that good as in the past, so it's obviously losing some momentum in the usage as well. And then other major changes, Venusaur +7. It's actually a really great. You know, there was lots of questions about, you know, Venusaur being a defensive Mega. How does that work out when you don't have leftovers recovery? But obviously with the weather nerfed, Synthesis is more reliable recovery than it was in the past. And also you got Giga Drain, you got Leaf Seed, and the Thick Fat ability is amazing for Mega Venusaur. So it is definitely able to keep itself healthy, and it's a great defensive Mega, and a lot better than a lot of people thought in the first place. And then there was also Mandibuzz rising +7, and still keeps gaining momentum. I think last time in the pre-Pokemon Bank metagame that I was looking at, Mandibuzz rose +69 spots, and it still just keeps on going up, because it's arguably one of the best defoggers. Some say that, you know, there are better options, but I think, judging by the usage alone, Mandibuzz is where it's at. And looking at the top 20 here, the only defogger that I can see here is really Mandibuzz. No other Pokemon commonly carry defog, because they're not really as good defog users as Mandibuzz is. Mandibuzz can afford to sack a move slot for defog, because it wasn't really good in the past anyway, so now defog basically just gave it a reason to be used, along with the dark typings getting a buff, Mandibuzz having knockoff, Overcoat having a buff, you can dodge spores, and you're still immune to somewhat common sand brought by Tyranitar, so just overall fits the OU metagame so well in this gen. Mamoswine, another great Pokemon, still keeps on rising, and looking at the top 20 here, there aren't really many counters here to it. Only thing comes to mind, again, Rotom Wash, and then looking at the Pokemon below, there's Skarmory somewhere. I can't see it right now, but it's here somewhere. There we go, at 27. But it's like Skarmory and Rotom Wash are really like the only true counters to Mamoswine. The offensive ice and ground coverage is just amazing for Mamoswine. It has been so in the past, and it's still the deal in Generation 6, and nothing can really safely switch into Mamoswine's amazing coverage moves, and that's why it's a force to be reckoned with. And now it even has the Freeze Dry if you really hate Rotom Wash, so you can kind of muscle your way through it. So there's that, but Mamoswine, a great Pokemon, you can support your team with Stealth Rocks, and it has the awesome coverage to kind of destroy everything in the OU metagame. So yeah, dangerous Pokemon. Kind of brought down by its speed and lack of setup moves, but it can still perform its job well in the OU meta. And then what else do we got? Goodra rising up 9 spots, which is kind of interesting. Not really sure. I guess people are... Goodra was losing some momentum, but it's still a great Pokemon, and it's arguably one of the best users of the new item Assault Vest, which I was referring to with Conkeldurr earlier. But Goodra is really a Pokemon that was designed to be using the Assault Vest, because it's specially defensive wall, but then it doesn't have any really good support moves, and mainly it doesn't have a reliable recovery move. But then, on the other hand, when you look at its move pool and then you look at its offensive stats, which are still like respectable 100, 110, and you couple that with its offensive move pool, you can see it's a really great offensive, or not offensive, but it's a special tank. It's a special tank, a special wall that dishes out damage. That is what you call it, a special tank. So that is what Goodra does, and it's a really unique Pokemon. I still kind of have mixed feelings about it, but it's something different. Just designed to be a special tank, which is really cool. Not just a special wall, but a special tank with amazing special move pool. And I guess it could even go mixed with like Earthquake and Dragon Claw, I guess, or Dragon Tail more commonly. I think to do some phasing. But Goodra, really unique Pokemon, has a niche in the metagame, so there we go. What else interesting do we have? Togekiss rises up 5 spots. You know, it can hard counter the infamous Dragon Ground coverage. So that alone is amazing for Togekiss, and that's why I think it's gaining a little bit more momentum in the OU tier. Skarmory drops down 9 spots, and I guess hazards just, you know, aren't too good. Skarmory is still a solid physical wall, great typing, reliable recovery, but you know, its main job in the past was to set up hazards, and now that hazards aren't as valuable as they were in the past, especially when you talk about spikes, you know, Skarmory is losing some momentum, I guess. Gyarados -9, you know, it's kind of underappreciated Mega Evolution. I don't know how good it really is, you know, Mega Gyarados. You know, people were using it a lot at first, obviously, but now that everybody's focus is pretty much on something like Mega Garchomp and there's Mega Venusaur, or I guess when you speak offensively, there's the Mega Charizard, there's Mega Lucario, there's Mega Garchomp. So I guess because of those, you know, Mega Gyarados is kind of forgotten. It's still doing well for itself, but you know, there are still, you know, other options, and Gyarados is, you know, just not up to par with those Pokemon. You shouldn't really compare because they work out differently, but it's just the fact that at this time the focus is somewhere else than in Mega Gyarados. Who knows what happens in the future? Mega Mawile too, that Pokemon is gaining a lot of momentum, so another reason why Mega Gyarados might be dropping down a bit. But rising up 9 spots, really just brought down by its speed. It's really amazing on paper, and I think it's the hardest hitting Pokemon in the entire metagame, thanks to the pure power or huge power. Which one does it have? It doesn't matter, the same thing, but it's amazing. It hits just so hard, but it's still brought down by its speed. It can kind of make up for it with Sucker Punch, but you know, it's still an unreliable move, and yeah, the speed is the main reason why Mobile isn't used more, but definitely the Mega Evolution is amazing for it. Trevenant dropping down 7 spots, oh well, it's still a great Pokemon. Really love the Harvest Citrus Berry set, and you can run Rest and Chesto Berry with the Harvest too, which is amazing. Really unique Pokemon. I really like this thing, and it really looks like the war that Trevenant had with the Pumpkin Pokemon, whatever it was called, I don't even remember, but it was the other grass ghost type Pokemon, and they were definitely having competition in the OU metagame at the beginning of the metagame. People were trying out which one is better suited for the OU metagame, and it looks like Trevenant is winning. And Trevenant definitely, like I said, it is a really unique Pokemon with the Harvest ability, arguably the best user of the Harvest. And you can also couple Curse with that, something that no other Pokemon can really pull off as efficiently as Trevenant can. But I guess it's still losing some momentum at this time, because, you know, everybody has already tried it out, and it's just a random wall, I guess, but it's still a good Pokemon. What else is interesting? Smeargle rising up 12 spots, and Galvantula 14, so Sticky Web is making a comeback. Last month people weren't using it as much, but this time, yeah, it's returning to the OU metagame. Yeah, like, it looks like they were... I don't remember how the usage stats went last month, but it looks like they were completely out of the overused usage, but now they are making a comeback, and Smeargle still looks to be winning the war. Galvantula is the fastest Sticky Web user, but Smeargle, because it can learn anything, obviously the attraction is at Smeargle that can run other awesome support moves like Stealth Rocks and Spore and or Dark Void. Stuff like that. So Smeargle just overall has more things that it can do as opposed to Galvantula, which besides setting up Sticky Web cannot really hit too hard, and Smeargle has other things that it can do to support your team, as Galvantula is just kind of weak when it comes to its offensive stats, but still the fastest Sticky Web user, so That's why both of them are used, and Sticky Web, the unique hazard that lowers the speed by 1 of all the Pokemon that are grounded that enter the field, making a huge difference in the speed tiers. But yeah, Sticky Web making its comeback, and Bisharp also at the OU this time. I think it probably was in the OU in the Pokemon Bank metagame last month that I wasn't personally looking at. But Bisharp definitely fighting for the OU spot, and at this time at least, it is looking to be in the OU metagame. Besides being a complete troll to Sticky Web teams with Defiant, the Steel Dark coverage is better offensively this gen, and Bisharp another user that can afford to run the knockoff, and it can definitely make the best of it, because Bisharp is best used offensively, and you can just dish out a lot of damage with the knockoff, and besides that you have the utility of knocking off items. So that is what makes Bisharp an excellent Pokemon in this generation, as I have talked about in the past. And then another thing that was kind of interesting, Sylveon looks to be winning the war of especially defensive fairy types that we have. There's Aromatisse, and then there was the Florges. Yes, those things seem to have dropped down, and Sylveon is winning the war of the specially defensive fairy types in the OU metagame. I think we kind of stated that already the last time, but it still continues to be the trend. And Sableye still rises up 6 spots. That's actually kind of interesting, because Sableye was rising a lot last month, or the last month being, when it comes to statistics, being December 2013. And during December, Kangaskhan was still, or the Mega Kangaskhan was still OU for a good part of the month. I think up till December 19th. And arguably, out of all the few things that you could kind of consider as counters to Mega Kangaskhan, there was Sableye. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was gaining a lot of momentum last month. But I was wondering what would happen to Sableye now that Mega Kangaskhan is gone. Because Sableye, a lot of the time was used specifically to counter Mega Kangaskhan, because it can kind of switch on any of the attacks, even though something like Earthquake would still, double Earthquake from the parental bond would still kind of hurt it, but it could still go for the Will-O-Wisp and, you know, heal itself with Recover, so it was considered one of the best counters, or if not the only true counter. The closest thing to a counter, let's put it like that. The closest thing to a counter that Mega Kangaskhan had. That's why I had momentum last month, but it still seems to be going up. And, you know, Sableye is a great Pokemon with priority Will-O-Wisp. It has just amazing move pool. Like I said, priority Prankster Will-O-Wisp, Recover, Taunt, and then Dark typing is better offensively. So you can spam that knockoff, and Foul Play is a thing that Sableye can definitely abuse to actually dish out damage because of its pathetic attack stat it has. But it has the utility knockoff. Now, when we first came to Generation 6, it was looking kind of bad for Sableye, because it was known for its niche to be the Pokemon with no weaknesses. Obviously, now it's weak to Fairy, but when you look at things, there aren't many Pokemon that even use Fairy-type attacks, at least in the OU metagame. On the physical side, you got Azumarill and Mega Mobile with the Play Rough. So there's those two. Then on the special side, you rarely even see Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam, which are arguably the best offensive special Fairy-type attacks. Of course, there's few Pixelate users like Mega Gardevoir and Sylveon, I guess. But, you know, those are only 2 Pokemon, and like I said, if you have played the metagame, you probably have noticed this yourself, that Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast aren't really common over moves. And the point being, even though Sableye gained a weakness in this generation, which seemingly hurts it, it's not that bad, because those moves are they're not too common. You know, obviously, we all know that there aren't too many Fairy types, and there simply aren't too many Fairy type attacks. There's only like 3 good ones, which are Play Rough, and Moonblast, and Dazzling Gleam, as I mentioned. And those are not really that common, so it's not that big of an issue for Sableye, and on that regard, Sableye can gain some momentum, but it's still kind of hard to see why Sableye is being used. Is it simply because of the dark typing and also Will-O-Wisp getting the buff? It's definitely nice not missing Will-O-Wisp so much. I remember using Sableye in Gen 5 and I was always annoyed when Will-O-Wisp missed so often, and now it's, you know, slightly better. So that's a slight little buff for Sableye, but overall it's really hard to see why Sableye is used so much, because it's still, you know, outside of those little buffs with Will-O-Wisp and dark typing, you know, it's still the same old Sableye. Its stats are still, you know, mediocre. It's amazing for burning physical attackers, but it's still basically the same thing last generation, and it was, you know, dropped down to UU. It had some great momentum when it was first released, but then it dropped down. But now, at least at the time, it still seems to be gaining some momentum. If you have a good reason why Sableye is being used in the OU tier, definitely let me know, because I was wondering about it last time, and I still am, and I guess I could ramble just more, but I'd rather just ask your opinion on this instead of, you know, going in circles and rambling. But with that being said, I think Salamence was the last OU Pokemon. Let's just look at the official list here. And where do we have Salamence? There we go, 3.6%. And the next Pokemon is Thundurus at 3.2. So it's barely below the OU limit, which is 3.4%. So looking at this rate, Pokemon such as Thundurus and Terrakion would be dropping down to the underused tier, and one could say those Pokemon are certainly not healthy for the UU metagame, the UU beta metagame, but that's why we don't have the official UU yet, because there's still so much fluctuation in the tiers. You know, it's gonna take time for the metagame to adjust and for all the Pokemon to find their places in the OU metagame, especially since now the suspect testing has started too, so once, you know, Pokemon such as Genesect and possibly Mega Lucario get banned, that's gonna free some other Pokemon to be used, and perhaps things like Thundurus and Terrakion will be gaining more usage too. So there's that. Fluctuation going still in the tiers. Nothing is set in stone. But with that being said, I will conclude this episode on the OU metagame. I could potentially look into the UU beta metagame, because it's kind of interesting to see the first usage stats of the first UU beta. So let me know what you think about this month's OU, and also do you want to see me do the UU beta episode, and I will check you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and again, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, because it's really fun reading your comments. I had some really good comments on the last episode, people writing down their... The one good thing about the new YouTube comment system is that you can write longer comments. Perhaps that is a problem, but I saw some really awesome opinions from people who actually put some thought into their comments instead of saying Smogon is gay, Smogon is stupid, and stuff like that. Really appreciate comments that actually have effort in them instead of stupid comments like that, which I just said. But as you can see, I'm rambling, so I will just now conclude the episode. Thank you for watching, and I will check you guys next time. Until then, this is Spade rambling and signing out. Peace.